guys, welcome back to At the Table. Sydney and Cassidy here for our very last Med Instead of Meds show. And for this session, we are really going to focus on how to take all that we have taught you so far to change a dish to make it med. So we have two different recipes. We've got a chicken Parmesan dish, which typically we think of chicken Parmesan as being loaded with cheese, fried, and that's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot of vegetables in it. And then we have black bean brownies, which is a little bit different as well. So we will start over here with our chicken parm one bake. This is a recipe from Lily Eats and Tells, which is one of my all-time favorite bloggers. You hear me talk about her all the time. So probably annoying to y'all, but her stuff is just really good and it has tons of vegetables in it, which is such a big part of med. So what we're going to start with over here is chopping some of our vegetables. We really just go down the list and combine the first 12 ingredients. So I'm going to start with the stuff that I have to cut up first, just to kind of take out some of that time. We have, and you can use squash or zucchini here. We have zucchini. Personally, I like zucchini a little bit better, but you can choose whatever you enjoy the most. And y'all know me, cutting it into the bite-sized pieces. So I'm actually going to cut this into thirds. This is a fairly skinny zucchini. And I'm just gonna cut it into those smaller bite-sized pieces. You want to make sure that when you are cutting something up, especially if it's gonna be cooked all together in the same dish, that you do cut it more uniform. That way, it'll all cook the same. You won't have a lot of big pieces that cook slower, and small pieces that cook faster. Try to get it as uniform as possible. And this is one of my all-time favorite recipes to make because it does have just what I talked about. It's got those vegetables in there. It's got some lean protein. We are using chicken. Of course, it's chicken Parmesan. We are using chicken breast, and then it is really simple. You throw it all into the same dish. Really just put all the first 12 ingredients together, throw it together, put it in the oven. So it's really quick, not a ton of prep work compared to other recipes that we may have done on the show. All right, and then I'm also gonna go ahead and chop up my garlic just because I have that as well. So I have 3 cloves of garlic here, and we just want to chop them up nice and fine. We talk a lot in the Med Instead of Meds program about using herbs and spices and things like that to help to flavor your food. And garlic isn't an herb or spice. There's a name for, I think it's like an aromatic technically. Anyway, it is definitely something that we use to help flavor our food, and it gives it really, really great flavor. And Cassidy and I both are obsessed with garlic. We use tons of it in pretty much everything we cook, right? So definitely, if you are not using fresh garlic to help flavor your food, I encourage you to give it a try, because it really does make such a difference compared to garlic powder. Now you can still use garlic powder. Sometimes if I'm feeling lazy, it's what I do. It's not a big deal, but fresh garlic will completely take your dish to the next level. I've never put fresh garlic in and said, really wish I would have used garlic powder, but I've done it the opposite way. So. All right, and then the last thing that we are going to have to chop up, I told you it's pretty simple, is our spinach. And we are using a cup of chopped spinach. So I'm just gonna kind of gather this all together and run my knife through it. And y'all notice the whole time I am cutting things up over here, I am doing that rocking motion back and forth, keeping the tip of my blade on the cutting board. Nice firm grip on my knife. and just working my way through whatever I'm cutting. And just really watching those fingers. You do kind of that claw motion. It helps to protect your fingers. It would hit your knuckles before it hit your fingers. That's probably, might do a little bit more garlic or spinach here. So we have a couple different vegetables that is in this recipe. And like I said, chicken Parmesan is traditionally loaded with cheese, and it's also just chicken, breaded chicken, and marinara sauce, right? So the difference here is that we've got spinach, we've got zucchini, we've got garlic, and our last thing is mushrooms. So I'm gonna dump these in there. We'll see you guys back in just a second to finish this up and get it in the oven.
Whether you're returning from a family vacation, coming back from college, or even returning from serving our country, we know there's no place like home. And here at Performance Ford, we want to make sure you get there. That's why every Performance certified vehicle comes with the Performance Lifetime Powertrain Warranty. Performance Ford, welcome home.
Introducing the Star Communications app. All the tools you need in one convenient location. You can access Watch TV everywhere. Check local channel lineup. Check your Star email. View and pay your Star bill. Report troubles. Use your Star Security app. Check your home voicemail. Sign up for Crowd Fiber. Check your Wi-Fi speed. The list keeps going and going. Download for free from the App Store or Google Play.
Hey guys, welcome back. So we have our veggies already added to our pan, and as well as our garlic, and then now I am adding some basil. So we have fresh basil here. I love fresh basil. It is one of the few herbs that I do make sure I grow over the spring and summer. Basil, parsley, and rosemary are three of my favorite herbs. So if you are looking at expanding your herb garden this year, those are really good ones to start with. And basil is something that you just really can add into everything. So definitely encourage a nice basil plant. You can even get a little one at the grocery store. Sometimes I have to do that if I can't find fresh basil. If they're out of the fresh basil or mint or whatever it might be, sometimes I'll just buy the whole plant because, hey, you keep getting more out of that. So we have that added. The other herb that we are using in this is thyme, and we talk about in our Med Instead of Meds program about using those fresh herbs a lot to flavor your food. This way we don't have to use quite as much salt or things like that, sauces or anything like that, because you have so much flavor already in your herbs that you're adding already. So lots of flavor there, which is really important. It is one of the things that sets the Mediterranean diet apart because our food is flavorful, it's tasty, it's craveable. It's something that we want to go back and eat more of. So definitely by adding these herbs, we get that. And the older that your thyme gets, the more difficult it is to pull apart, but it is one of the easiest herbs to use. You guys have seen me use thyme before because you just simply grab the top and just pull down and your leaves come right off. It's very easy. You could also use dried here. I think our recipe even says like 1/4 teaspoon, of dried. So if you choose to use fresh, you'll need about 2 to 3 sprigs of fresh. And we do have tomato sauce in this, so keep that in mind as well, that if you maybe you don't have to buy a super flavorful tomato sauce, you could even just buy it's just canned tomato sauce. It's tomatoes that have been blended up to make a sauce, because you do have some good flavor already in those herbs that you're using. I think that's pretty good. All right, so next we're gonna add all the rest of well, for the most part, the rest of our ingredients. So we are adding 2 cups of chicken. This is chicken that I had left over. I just cooked it in the Instant Pot and actually made a chicken salad with it, but didn't use quite all of the chicken. So this is leftover chicken. And we are adding about 6 ounces of our noodles. So I used a rotini. The recipe calls for a rigatoni, but this is what I could find. I'm also using whole grain. So a lot of times when we talk about the Mediterranean diet, we talk about whole grains and how important those are. Probably about 6 ounces. This whole thing is 16 ounces. So I'm not using a whole lot of this, this box as it is. And this is a whole grain pasta. So you can look at the box and see it is whole wheat. It's a healthy choice for us. We also have 1.5 cups of chicken broth. And make sure that when you are buying that, you're looking for that reduced sodium option. Because we do want to keep our heart health in mind. And sodium is part of that. And you're probably like, Sydney, you just put dry pasta in there and you're gonna bake this all together? I promise it's gonna turn out good. And it does all, you don't really need, you don't need to cook it beforehand. All right, and then we have 1.5 cups of our tomato sauce, which I have another one. This is something that I just had left over. So this is a good recipe if you have any leftover sauce or something like that. Maybe you made pizzas one night and kind of want to get rid of that, then you can just make this recipe. Get a little bit of that in there. And when you're shopping for your tomato sauce or pasta sauce, it can be difficult to find a sauce that is low in sodium. I have yet to find a really good brand. This one still has a good amount. It does not have any added sugars though, and the ingredients are a pretty short list of that, but it is something that if you are really trying to watch your sodium, the best option would just be that plain tomato sauce and then add your own seasonings to that. All right, last thing is our mozzarella. So we are just doing 1/4 cup of mozzarella. And then I'm gonna mix it all together and throw a little bit of aluminum foil on top. And then we throw it into the oven. So I'm gonna stir this up. Now when you're stirring it, you wanna make sure that your noodles are towards the bottom. That way they don't get really dried out. So I'm gonna finish stirring this, get this in the oven, and then we'll see you guys back in just a second for Cassidy to show us her brownies.
Many things have been stolen away during this time of uncertainty. No crowds to cheer on their favorite teams. Applause and pageantry have been stripped away. Thieves are looking to make your home empty and silent. Star Communications has the answer you are looking for. Security by Star. Automation and affordability along with friendly service makes for a security choice that is sure to keep your family cheering.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
All right, so we have our chicken Parmesan in the oven. So you saw everything that I added to that. I just covered it, stirred it really good. You wanna make sure your noodles are kind of dunked, and then you are putting aluminum foil on top. And then the last thing that we will do, that takes about an hour to cook. So it does take a while. We will not have time to show you the last couple steps on camera today because we got to get to Cassidy and her brownies. But you will add some Parmesan, some breadcrumbs, and the recipe calls for you to do like just one piece of toast and pulse that yourself. And that's about 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. I did not have toast, but I did have breadcrumbs in my pantry here at the office. So that is what we are gonna add. You top it with breadcrumbs and a little bit of 1/4 cup of mozzarella and a few tablespoons of Parmesan. Not a lot of cheese in this, I told you guys, about 1/2 cup, maybe added a couple tablespoons. So we'll put it back in the oven for 10 minutes and uncover it and it'll be done. So we'll show y'all what that looks like afterwards. We're gonna go now to Cassidy, show the brownies, and we cannot wait to try these. They're so good.
Yeah, so this is one of those recipes that I absolutely love. It's definitely one that you can enjoy as a dessert, but it's also one that could be enjoyed as a snack or something if you were to use it as like a pre-workout, pre-exercise snack, because we do have our black beans in here, so you're getting some protein to help gear you up and fuel you. Now, typical brownies are gonna have lots of added sugar. They're going to have your white refined flour, and that's not a whole grain. So we are going to turn these quick oats, you could use rolled or any sort of oats because our oats are a whole grain, and we're gonna make our own oat flour. So I measured about 1/2 cup into our food processor. So we're simply going to turn that on. This is one of the most simple things you can do. All right, so we've pulsed it. We're gonna give it a couple more. And that looks pretty good. All right, so I'm gonna measure out because I only need 1/4 cup for this recipe. So I'm gonna measure out 1/4 cup, and then we'll put the rest to the side. A little overflow is fine. All right, so pour the rest in here because we will need our food processor for the remainder of this recipe. All right, so gonna put all of these to the side because we want our wet ingredients to go in first. Now I have my egg, and it's best if you can crack it on a flat surface. This is gonna help to prevent some of those eggshells from getting into your yolk. Looks pretty good. We will add that on top of our black beans in this recipe. So, I have my black beans, they're going into the food processor first. And we'll make sure that we put all of our wet ingredients into the food processor before we add our dry ingredients. Now, your dry ingredients do need to be kind of mixed together in a bowl separately because you wouldn't want to have a tablespoon or a teaspoon of baking soda or some other dry ingredient. So we have that here. We now need to add 1/4 cup of applesauce. And this is unsweetened because even though we're making brownies, we are trying to control the amount of added sugar in this recipe. Now, it won't be totally without added sugar because of course this is a brownie recipe and we still want it to have that sweetness. But all of these ingredients will work together to give it exactly what we're looking for. So this is the part I never measure. I always just take a tablespoon like you have in your drawer and I just dunk that in. I don't exactly measure, and I love peanut butter, so sometimes I actually do a little bit more than that. All right, and we're gonna add just a little bit of milk to this recipe. We'll do a few tablespoons. All right, so I guess that's 3. We have 3 tablespoons of our milk. Now we are ready to mix together our dry ingredients. So we'll move this to the side, and we do have, this is gonna be our 1/4 cup, actually let's switch this out. Our 1/4 cup of our oat flour, And we need to add 1 teaspoon of unsweetened cocoa powder. We'll now add a teaspoon of baking powder. And we need about a teaspoon of coffee grounds. We'll just mix this together, put it into our food processor, and then we're going to blend it and just pour it into our baking dish. So I'll get this started while we're on break.
Sweetie, will you turn that down, please?
Keep life exciting, even when it's not. Watch TV everywhere from Star Communications.
After completing my contract, I still have to buy out of it? Come on. Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping home secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Welcome back, guys. We do have just a couple more ingredients to put into our food processor before we blend it up. So I'm gonna add just a teaspoon of brown sugar, maybe 2 teaspoons of brown sugar to our dry ingredients. Mix that in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that into my food processor before I add the chocolate chips. So just kind of move this around your bowl or your food processor. You want all those dry ingredients mixed up really well and added on top. And then finally, we are going to add our chocolate chips. So yes, there will still be added sugar in this recipe. However, it's not nearly as much as you would have if you were to make your traditional brownies. We also have oat flour, which is a whole grain. So we have whole grains in here. We have black beans, which add protein. And sure, we have a little bit of added sugar for sweetness as well. All right, so we want to get this blended up really well. You may want to take little breaks along the way just to check it out and see what your batter is looking like. This actually looks really good. Just going to make sure it's the exact same consistency you would see with your traditional brownies, especially if there were chocolate chips in there. So now we want to use a little bit of cooking spray and just line our baking pan to make sure that it doesn't stick. And this is olive oil based compared to greasing with something like butter. That would be higher in saturated fat. So we're gonna pour this in and then get this directly into the oven. And this is gonna go in your oven at 350 degrees and it'll bake for about 25 minutes. Go ahead and move this around. And there's still a little bit left in our food processor. Get this out. I can smell the chocolate in this already. So go ahead, smooth that out. Make sure your batter is, just like you would with normal brownies, pretty evenly spread. You want your corners to be just a little bit thicker because those are going to cook the fastest. All right, Sydney, you want to put this in the oven for us?
Sure. I can smell the peanut butter. It smells so good.
One of my favorite foods, definitely peanut butter is a food that I feel that I can't get enough of. It has our protein, it has healthy fats in there that are gonna keep you full from meal to meal. A lot of times with snack foods, I like to snack on things, I call them produce and protein. So this is gonna be things that we talk about in our Med Instead of Med series. So something like a banana, an apple, some sort of fruit as well as protein, which I typically do a handful of nuts or some peanut butter. I don't know, are there different med flips that you like to recommend to people?
Yeah, I love all kinds of stuff. So we talk a lot about doing more vegetables into our diet. So anytime I'm making something, just making a vegetable be a part of that dish. Trying to find a way, what could I add to this? Spinach is an easy one, doesn't have a ton of flavor, it's pretty creamy. I can throw that in pretty easily. We talk a lot about mushrooms and kind of cutting back our ground meat with mushrooms, whether it's ground beef or ground chicken. That way you up the vegetables that's in that dish and you kind of reduce a little bit of that meat, I guess, that you're using. And still a good thing to have. We still want to have our lean meats, but we want to up the vegetables. That's the key here, is finding ways to up the vegetables. We have other recipes. You can use bananas instead of, is it flour or butter? You can opt to use fruit. So thinking of other ways that you can do a flip. What is something that you can kind of tweak to make a recipe more med friendly? So there's lots of that, and we talk all about that in our Med Instead of Med series, which we have already started that at this point, but we do that series several times throughout the year. So if you missed it, you'll be able to join us for the next one. You can always reach out to either of us to kind of talk about what are some other ways that I can eat healthy? What are some other programs that you have going on? So if you're ever interested in learning more, Cassidy is in Johnston and Wilson counties. I'm in Duplin and Sampson. Either one of us, please feel free to reach out to us. And it's been so fun having Cassidy on the show for all of May. I love having her, love being able to work with her. She is definitely my favorite partner in crime to hang out with. So anytime you join our programs, we do have summer stuff coming up, right?
Yes.
So some food preservation classes, and we'll be doing those together, probably in the Johnston County kitchen, right?
Yeah. We may tag team and see what we can do in different places.
Yeah. So you'll see us in different areas, but if you ever want to join us, please feel free to, and we hope that you guys have a great rest of May, and we'll see you guys next time.